never use it as an excuse, never use it as a reason not to do things, and just experiment and try and learn the skills and step out of your comfort zone and start building your confidence over time.
Hello and welcome to the Driven Female Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Melitta Campbell, award-winning business coach, value whisperer, and founder of the Dream Clients Blueprint, the proven system that guides you in defining, communicating, and selling your true value with ease and authenticity so you can create an income, business, and lifestyle that you love and feel proud of the positive impact that you are creating. Each week on this show, I share business building wisdom from my own experiences and those of a range of successful women. My aim is to help you dream bigger and achieve more by learning from what works and gaining actionable tools, tips, and insights from women who are building a range of amazing businesses. One thing I've come to learn over the last 15 years of running my own business is that there is no one special type of person who is destined for success in business, in public speaking, in getting visible online, or anything to do with business. There is room for all personalities. The only one thing you need to succeed is the desire to do so. I've also learned that contrary to what you might expect, more than half of all the business owners out there are introverts, including myself. So today, I'm excited to speak with Fifi Mason, the Introvert's Impact Coach. Fifi inspires quiet individuals to find their voice and step up into their power, and specializes in helping introverted life coaches to get visible and make an impact, all on their own terms. She's also the founder of the Quietly Influential Summit, taking place next week. You can learn more about that and claim your free ticket by visiting melittacampbell.com/events. But first, here's Fifi. Welcome, Fifi. It's great to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I'm excited because we're going to dive into two of my favorite topics, which is visibility and strategies that work for introverts as well. So I'm excited to have a really juicy discussion around that and bust some myths. But before we do, I'd love it if you could share your story. How did you become a visibility coach for introverts?
Yeah, definitely. So I started out in 2018 as a freelance brand designer and web designer after a few years in industry. And I had a really great year that year. But by the end of it, it kind of got to a point where I was struggling with the types of clients I was attracting and how much they valued the work that I was doing. I mean, I even got to a point where I didn't even want to get up in the morning because I knew that I had to face a client that the previous day made me cry. So I was just at this point where I was like, I need to make a change. I've had a good year of freelancing and really stepping out there and getting my business going. Right at that point, I was kind of at this precipice of changing tracks because I just felt there was a misalignment. And it was one day after that one day where I ended up firing my client, which was a big, brave step for me, and really standing up for myself and feeling like I need to make a change. So I was looking at, well, why am I attracting the wrong kinds of clients? Why is that the case? And I realized quickly that even though I knew the value of showing myself and having me as part of my business, I wasn't really doing it. I was hiding. I had one image that I used of myself that was the only one that I liked out of this whole photo shoot that I had done. And that was the only picture that was anywhere of me. And in my social media, I just wasn't being myself. All I was doing was talking about the facts and the expertise side of things. This is how you do this. And there was nothing about me in it. So I wasn't really appealing to any audience. I wasn't attracting any clients because no one knew me, no one knew what I was all about. So I really started to work on figuring out what I wanted to be and how I wanted to show up. And I went on this self-discovery journey, is what I call it, of learning personal branding and what it means and how you have a good, strong personal brand. And it became this self-development journey of figuring out who I am, who I want to help the most, finding my purpose, finding those people where I belong. And by 3 to 4 months later, I was at a point where I was helping introverted business owners do exactly the same thing, figure out what they want to do and how to put themselves out there and show up in a way where they felt comfortable doing it, where it all aligned with who they are, their personality. And that's just what I ended up doing now. And that's what I help introverts get visible, help them to show up and have a really strong personal brand.
I love that story. It's so empowering, and there's so much of it that I can relate to. I'm sure a lot of the listeners are saying, yes, me too. And in my business, I was very similar when I started. On my website, it didn't have any pictures. It just had 5 bullet points of what I do and my phone number. That was my website for the first couple of years, in fact. And then I had a stock photo, and then I'd show up and people were like, well, that's not you. I was like, oh, did you think that would be me? And they're like, yes, we want to see you. And so it was quite a long journey to get comfortable. But like yourself, I was attracting the wrong clients. We're paying really good money, but apart from that, they weren't giving me anything. And I wasn't getting any positive energy, any growth, anything that I needed from my clients. And like yourself, I have one client who just ranted at me down the phone for about half an hour. And I was like, I didn't quite cry, but I really wanted to. But I was like, I don't need this. And I walked away. They owed me, I think it was 6,000 francs, or equivalent of pounds and dollars at that point. I thought, I don't care. I'm worth more than that. And it was just such a great move. But then I was like, now what do I do? And I think I'd known for a while that I was in the wrong space, but then I didn't dare think, what else would I do? I felt a little bit trapped. And of course, we never are trapped. And then once I gave myself that space to explore, well, what could I be doing? In fact, the clients came to me and said, well, you can be helping me, and this is what I want from you. And I heard that consistently. I was like, okay, I can do that. I moved into the business coaching field, and that worked out beautifully. But what was that journey like over those 3 months? Did you also have those feelings of, well, now what am I going to do? I mean, it sounded like you had a lot of courage just to say, right, forget that. I'm going to move on to something else and figure that out.
It was a gradual process, definitely. It was more of a, well, I know I need to make some changes. How's that going to look? And I looked at what I was doing and my past experience in marketing as well. And I just felt like I had more to give to the clients that I was attracting. All they really wanted was just a pretty logo, and they wanted it their way, or they just wanted me to update their website. And I was just stuck doing all of these little things that I just felt like, but I've got all of these skills and talents and this experience that I need to utilize and put into my business. And as I started doing that, going through the motions of I even worked with a business coach a little bit and learning everything I could about personal branding and how you actually show up and be yourself in your business. That's when things started to gradually change and shift in my mindset, just to a point where I could own more of who I am and be more of who I am and show the value that I had and show the experience and the expertise and the creativity and all of the elements of me that I was just kind of hiding behind and hiding away from, with like a business name and a very businessy website. Even though I had my image there and it still had my name in my business, I was just very much not me. And I had to move through figuring out who I was in order to put me into it.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned there that you just had this nagging feeling that you had more to give. And that's the beautiful opportunity of our own business, is that we can create offers and products. A business allows us to bring all of ourselves, or at least a lot more of ourselves and our gifts into the world. So I think if we have this feeling, it's really important to listen into that and explore, well, what would I really love to bring into the world? What can I bring that perhaps other people aren't? But it's not always so easy, because we have these ideas, but then some of the things that other people find most valuable about us feel so easy and comfortable and natural for us, we haven't even noticed that they're a thing. Did you find that?
Yeah, well, yeah, I kind of did. It was something that I was told, or a client said to me, and it was one of the first clients I had when I started doing more of the strategy rather than just the design. So as I said, I did it as a gradual thing. So I still had brand design, but I brought in brand strategy, which was personal brand strategy, and kind of married them up to start with. And my first client said, when I went through the whole process with her, she said it was like brand therapy. And that kind of changed the way I was looking at it, and made me think, well, this is a different way of approaching it, and a different way of really helping people figure themselves out alongside their business. It was more self-development and business. And I was like, these really go together well, because when you have a business, you have these struggles of mindset and motivation. And when it's just you and your business, you're the one that has to do everything, figure it all out, and you're gonna have these struggles, these mindset problems that come up, the issues that might stop you doing things, and the lack of motivation sometimes, and being an introvert as well. When I learned about that, figuring out my energy side of things, and it was just like really making the business part of you, and vice versa. So they're not two separate things. They need to work together. You have to be part of your business for it to be successful. And that's what I believe.
Yeah, I love that. And the other thing you were talking about there was that you bring your clients round to a place where they can be themselves in business. They can show up as themselves and be fully in alignment. But that's quite scary, right? They're saying, I'm going to be me and put myself out there. And I know for a lot of people, when it comes to visibility, that's the thing they fear more than anything else, is that, well, if people see the real me, then they won't like me, or I'll be judged, or it's quite a difficult thing to step into. We've heard it a lot on this show where people have said, the one thing you can't do wrong is be too much for yourself online. You have to be the face of your business. And I think people get that, but at the same time, internally, you're like freaking out completely.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine if you're working with introverts and people who have very often got in the habit of hiding, I know I used to do it, you mentioned that you did it, then that's an even bigger step, an even bigger process of like not just becoming yourself, but actually being visible, perhaps for the first time. Is that something that you see with your clients? And if anyone else who's listening to this is like going, oh my gosh, I can't be me, what advice would you offer them?
Well, to start off with the struggles, it's getting clear on what your challenge is specifically. And so for people, it can be a number of different reasons. So from my story, I've kind of alluded to it, that professional mentality that we might have, that we have to have this very polished business look that kind of gets in the way. Then you've got maybe fears and doubts and the struggles that come with that, where you might be fearing judgment or rejection or all of those things, or you're doubting your abilities and not knowing if you're good enough, or that you have the skills. You've got all of that to contend with. And then you've also got, well, what do you even share? What is relevant? What is too much to share? What is not enough to share? Like there's all of these kind of doubts on what you should even put out there about yourself. So you start in this mentality, and I see it as a journey. As you go through business, you're going to hit these brick walls as you develop over time. So if you was to imagine a graph, and along the bottom you start with unknown and then known, so the bottom line, unknown to known, and then you have in demand, no demand, and in demand. So you can picture it as a graph. So it goes over time, you start to gradually become more known, and then you're more in demand. And this journey just keeps going and going and going. But you're going to hit these kind of walls, these brick walls, I kind of imagine them along this journey. And it's split into stages. So the first stage is the show up stage. This is where you're maybe within the first couple of years of business, and you get to this point where you're like, I'm not showing up, but I have these fears. And that's where you hit the discomfort wall. And that is the one where you do fear the rejection, and you do fear the judgment and failure and even success, all of those things come up there, and it just stops you in your tracks. You end up not putting yourself out there and not being visible. And that is the first stage. And then when you get past that, because you can work through it, then you get to the consistency stage, which is actually doing it in a regular, consistent way. Specifically for introverts, this one becomes a challenge because our energy is key here. Like if we were to do it in a way where we're just giving our all, and you can kind of imagine it as like a really up and down graph, like a wave, and you give it your all, and then you get to the top and you've burnt out, so you're going to drop all the way to the bottom, and then you rest up and you figure out what your next step is, and then you give it your all again and you burn out again, and you just keep going through this up and down of your energy. And what we really need to strive for is consistency where we've got a flat line rather than this wave. And that is the next challenge to overcome and really work on being consistent, showing up consistently. And then the next stage is where you amplify that, and you're getting to this point where you are becoming known more, but you're in more demand. So that's where you can increase your prices, but you need to be stepping it up a level. And this might be where you hit trouble with your what I call your impact framework, and showing what your value is and how you communicate that and how you're going to do it. Are you going to go on podcasts and be interviewed? Are you going to do a live show? Are you going to really step things up to the next level, which comes with the comfort, stepping out of your comfort zone quite a lot? And yeah, so this gradual journey over time, and you're going to hit these roadblocks along the way. And my advice really for each of those is very different. So I have the 3 Bs, I call it. And to start off with, to get through that show up stage, it is crucial to know what you believe, to have belief in yourself. Then we've got balance, to have that balance with your energy. And then you've got belonging. So finding your place, your people, and your purpose. So I can go through each of those and kind of break them down a little bit. So believing in yourself, knowing who you are, your values, your principles, what you stand for, what your opinions are, knowing what you're passionate about and making sure that is part of your business. Having all of those elements aligned and being very clear on who you are is crucial. And then you've got balance. So balance is know your skills and abilities, know what you are going to do and how you're going to do it, and focus on one thing at a time. Having a clear strategy and just knowing that you're doing the right things for your personality and your temperament as well. And then belonging, as you said, it's finding your place, your people. So knowing your audience, knowing your niche, knowing what they really want and how it ties into your why, your purpose, and your core purpose of why you do what you do. And just having knowing those 3 things and doing the work for the 3 Bs is crucial. And I help my clients create impact rules around these, and just have rules for your purpose, your passions, and that kind of thing. Just knowing how those rules, having rules to guide you and show how you show up, basically.
I love all of that. It's really clear, it makes sense, but it's simple as well. And I love how you've tied the different stages of visibility to, well, this is what you need to do, and this is how you're going to feel about it, but here's how to build that belief, that balance, and the kind of sense of belonging in order to enable yourself to step into each of those different stages. And as you know from my book, Shy Girl's Guide to Networking, I'm a big fan of rules that empower you, that enable you to do it your way at your pace and make it okay and safe for you to do that. I think it's, so wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that and so completely with us. Do you ever feel awkward or fake when it comes to telling people about your business or offers? or feel disheartened when you do talk about what you do and people just don't get it. Don't worry, you're not alone. Many business owners struggle to confidently and comfortably articulate the true value of what they offer, but it's not something that many people teach as the first rule of business. Yet this one skill sets apart the real business owners from the hobbyists, and when you nail it, you can stop feeling like a fraud, and instead of feeling embarrassed when someone asks how your business is going, you can feel proud to speak of the income, impact, and lifestyle that you have created. You shouldn't feel overwhelmed working all the hours or offering discounts just to make ends meet in your business. If you feel that way right now, I have some good news for you. I've created a masterclass that will teach you exactly how to communicate your true value to your dream clients and how you can use this skill to sell without selling. Once you can articulate your true value with confidence and clarity in every interaction, you'll never be left wondering how to attract enough of the right clients to your business. Access your masterclass at melittacampbell.com/training. It's my gift to you to help you grow in confidence and thrive in your business in 2023. So I love that you've given some insights there. And I think each of those mindset issues that you've mentioned, it's not just about visibility, is it? Because you talked about belief and really knowing yourself and knowing your values, knowing what feels right. And with that, you can make much better decisions for everything in your business. And that builds your confidence and that reinforces your brand because you're only moving forward in the ways that feel right and in alignment. So I can imagine guiding people through that, and for your clients especially, that's a really exciting process.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see how it really does impact life, not just your business. That's why I say it really is bringing yourself into it, making it all of you so that it's your passion. You're going to be so motivated to get up every morning, to go to work and help those you want to help the most, and do it in a way that it's just fully you and you're open and accepting and happy. And that's what I want. I want people to feel that way every day.
Yeah, amazing. And statistically, there are more introverted business owners out there than extroverts. So it's really important that we are able to show up constantly and in a way that feels comfortable so that we can start building those businesses and having the impact we set out to create and stepping into that vision that prompted us to step forward in the first place. So yeah, I love that. And I know one thing we were talking about earlier is like, okay, visibility coach for introverts, is that an oxymoron? And now you've really made it clear that absolutely not. And we deserve to be in that space as much as the extroverts. And I think we need to be in that space to give that balance. As you said, not everybody wants to work with really loud out there, full energy, full on coaches. There's a lot of space for those who have a quieter approach and more sort of calm and balanced outlook into how you build a business and get out there as well.
Yeah, there's a place for all of us, and it's just finding that place. And that's why I think believing in yourself, having that balance, and then finding where you belong is key, basically.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So you've tackled this visibility mindset, but there are some beliefs that are really quite ingrained, and sometimes it's ones that have been reinforced by society. So I thought it'd be quite fun to look at what are some of the most ridiculous myths or advice that you've seen offered to introverts by perhaps people who haven't quite understood what introversion is.
Yeah, definitely. I did a YouTube video where I reviewed the worst advice I could find on YouTube for introverts. And yes, some of the myths, I mean, some of them we all kind of know. There's this misconceptions that being an introvert means that you're shy and you might have like lack confidence, that you are even rude and standoffish. And there's so many of those when it comes to someone who is quieter. And sometimes it really baffles me because just because someone is quiet doesn't mean anything. But then I think through it and I think, well, I think it's the mystery of someone who is quiet compared to someone who's louder and outgoing. Like you can kind of tell the mood of someone who is talking out loud and talking about their feelings and talking about things, you're going to figure them out a bit quicker. But someone who's quieter, there's always the mysticism and the mystery, and you're never quite sure, and you read into body language differently, and it just all these things. But yeah, so the misconceptions really are that it's to do with being shy, that it's to do with lack of confidence, or it's all of those things. But really, being an introvert is what I believe is down to two things. And it's becoming more of an accepted way of looking at what it means to be introverted. And that is to do with your energy and to do with your thought processing. So we're very inward focused. We need more time to think and process our thoughts. And we need to have more time to ourselves, or we have a preference for that, because that's how we feel more energized. We're very much in our heads a lot more, and we get our energy from doing that rather than spending time in large crowds or with groups of people. And yeah, so, but some of the things that I come across, it's generally, they just believe that it's because of a lack of confidence or social skills or all of these things. But all of these things are things that we can work on. We can grow and learn to be more assertive. And as you do things, and my belief with confidence, and I prefer to say quiet confidence because it sounds better to me in my head. But I feel like that's just to do with you're doing something unknown, new. And if you start doing it, start trying things, start experimenting, which is my way of encouraging my clients to experiment with things, and you grow that confidence muscle, you start to become more confident the more you do things, because it comes from just not knowing and not understanding. And when you start stepping out there and doing it, you gradually over time find that confidence. So
Yeah, exactly. I think confidence isn't something you have before you do something. It's what you build as you do new things and push outside your comfort zone. And I think it takes courage to get started, but then if you had to have courage the whole time, that would be exhausting. But you instead start to build that confidence so you have that shortcut. And it's interesting that after publishing my book, I was asked to contribute to a few articles about the power of introverts. And it was really interesting. And I started researching, well, who else out there is introverted? And it's incredible. You know, most of the world's inspirational and motivational speakers are introverted. And lots of politicians like Barack Obama are introverted. Lots of out there stars like Lady Gaga, I mean, you would never call her shy.
no.
She's an introvert as well. And I think we like to reflect and get the information and think, and we see things in just a little bit of a different way. And I think that's really powerful. I was listening to a lady recently, and I can't remember her name. I wish I could. I'll try and put it in the show notes. And she runs the UN Women, I think, in the US. And she was saying that she's a lawyer and she's an introvert. And she said that's her power, is that while all these other lawyers are out there arguing, she can see, oh, well, that's their objective and that's where they're coming from. Okay, now I know what's on the table and who's doing what and why. She can then come in really powerfully. She's the only person in the room that really knows what's going on because she's taken that space. She hasn't felt that she has to be out there and competing in a way. So I think there is a lot of power. And once you have that balance in any situation, then that's when it really starts to become interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Are there any other typical challenges you see for your clients and for introverts in general that you think, just stop that already?
Yes, well, it still comes back to that starting point, getting past what I call is the discomfort wall. And my advice for that is to reframe and flip your thinking from a self perspective to a service oriented one. So rather than self, it's service. So self to over service, self to service. And I have a game that we can play and introduce to your audience to help them. It's a reframing technique. It's one that I came up with myself that I think really does take you away from self and flip your thinking to service. So what I mean by that is when we have these fears, these doubts, these things that stop us in our tracks, we are thinking of what the impact is to us, and we're thinking of ourselves. What we want to get to is service, thinking about those who we help the most, who we want to support and encourage, and the clients that we want to have. So we need to flip our thinking to that. And so I would like to share with you the what if game. And how you play this is you have two columns. In the first column, it's you write at the top self, and then on the next column, you write at the top service. And then you're going to think through what the what if questions are that come up for you when you do something that, or go to do something that's stopping you, like where you feel that discomfort, where you've got things stopping you from taking action. So in that first column, you might have, what if I say something silly? And I want you to then flip that and right into the opposite column, in the service column, a what if from the service perspective. So what if I say something silly? Well, what if I make someone smile today? So you're taking yourself out of it and you're putting it into this service mentality. Another idea is, what if I fail? Well, what if I learn something from this experience then that can help others in the future?
So powerful. And I can imagine very quickly, if you go through that exercise, you will get to a point where, like, who am I to do this, to who am I not to do this?
Yeah.
You can start to see, well, hold on a minute, I've got all this power and I can bring out for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really powerful. I can imagine it's very empowering exercise. I know I'm going to be going away and trying that for myself.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there's a couple more I can kind of just give an example. So what if I'm not good enough? Well, what if I give it my best effort and I really help someone today to change something in their lives? What if people don't like me? Well, what if just showing up and showing kindness will encourage someone else to do the same and help someone in their life today? What if I make a mistake? What if I do something wrong? It shows you're human. So what if I show up and it just shows that I'm a human person, I'm genuine, real, and that means that they really want to connect with me. There's just so many different what ifs that you can kind of flip around to the service perspective, and how if you take it away from yourself and put it from self to service, it really does take you away from that discomfort that you might be feeling and help you show up.
Yeah, I love that so much. And one thing I used to tell myself in the early days, and still tell myself from time to time, is like, what if I'm really, really rubbish at this podcast interview today and I mess it up completely? And I'm like, well, then, as you say, it shows I'm human, but it's going to give other people permission to think, hold on a minute, she's doing it, I could do it better than that.
Yeah.
So for a long time, I was just telling myself, actually, I don't want to be very good. I want to be a little bit rubbish and mess up, because then it gives more people permission to have a go as well, or even step up and probably do it better than me.
Well, yeah, but that's a way of putting it into perspective from your way of thinking, because you're a coach and you want to encourage people to do that. You want to help them to move forward, and by seeing someone else doing that, that's going to encourage them. So yeah, it definitely makes sense.
Yeah. And I like these little funny phrases, like when you're saying earlier about the energy and balance and focusing on one thing. It reminded me of my favorite quote, which I quote here quite often, that you can't ride two horses with one arse. But I think these little reminders just make me giggle and make me think, yes,
Yeah, I like that.
Focus, don't be afraid of change, go out there, mess up, because that's where the real learning, the real growth, and the real connection is. Because until we're vulnerable, we don't draw people to us either. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a big quality that introverts have, is that we have a natural almost sense of vulnerability where we're not pushing out there, and that draws people in. And I've seen it when I'm doing my public speaking. If I speak and I suddenly reduce my voice and it's quieter, people lean in. And so as introverts, we have that power to make people lean in, to say something powerful and really have a big impact in this world. I think we have so many wonderful traits that we can embrace and own and use to our advantage and the advantage of other people as well. But too often we've been told, and we were saying earlier, my book series is A Shy Girl's Guide too, but it was originally going to be called Introverts Can, because so often I've been told, oh no, introverts can't be leaders, introverts can't stand on stage, introverts can't do training, introverts can't do all of these things. And for a long time I believed it. And so I didn't put myself out there. I thought, oh no, I can't speak up in a meeting. I'm the introvert here. I'm shy. I can't do that, until I discovered that I could. And then it was like, well, this is interesting. It makes the world a much more interesting place when you can contribute to that. You can share your views and people respond really positively to that. So yeah, I think the journey you're taking people on and what you've shared with us today is wonderful.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on. I've really enjoyed this conversation. It's been really good. Amazing.
Is there any last piece of advice that you'd like to share with the audience that maybe we haven't touched on yet?
Well, touching on the introvert side of things, and really what you were just saying there, where not using it as an excuse is really what I would probably end on. And I believe that we shouldn't take on labels as our identity, that we should just use them to guide us and help us move forward, to help other people understand and understand ourselves better. But yeah, never use it as an excuse, never use it as a reason not to do things, and just experiment and try and learn the skills and step out of your comfort zone and start building your confidence over time. Yeah.
I love that. A brilliant note to end on. But before we do end, I do want to highlight a couple of other things that you're doing to help introverts to step up, build their confidence, build their knowledge, and belong. And you've got a summit coming up, the Quietly Influential Summit. Would you like to tell us about that?
Yes, so the Quietly Influential Summit, it's the 4th year of this summit, and it's for introverted business owners, helping them to confidently, authentically show up and develop a strong personal brand. And we have some incredible speakers. It's free. Melitta is going to be there as well, so definitely come check it out. We've got Denise Thomas, we've got Meredith Arthur, who's the author of Get Out of Your Head, Inspiration for Overthinkers. So some incredible speakers coming on and lots of things to learn, and it's completely free, so check it out.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And then on an ongoing basis, you started Introvert You as well, a Netflix for introverts. I love that description.
Yes, Introvert You. It's a learning hub and a community helping introverts thrive in business, in life, and it's a passion project, something that I've been working on mostly for the last year and a bit now, and I love it. Yeah, it's all created by introverts for introverts, lots of trainings to help you grow and succeed as an introverted business owner.
Yeah. Well, thank you for really taking that courage to keep pushing out there, not just to build your own business, but to build this community and help introverts see and embrace their real qualities, so that we can play a bigger game in this world, which I think it's something that a lot of us want to do. We have this vision, we have these ideas, and then to have that community as well that's enabling us to move forward safely and comfortably in our own way is really powerful. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for having this wonderful podcast and sharing all of the amazing advice that you share too. Yeah, it's really good.
Thank you. So if people want to know more about you and everything that you're putting out there into the world, where's the best place for them to go?
You can come to my website, fifimason.com, or find me on LinkedIn. That's my favorite place to hang out.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Fifi.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. I hope you are feeling inspired and ready to step up, get visible, and create a bigger impact. Let me know what your biggest takeaways have been in the comments section or in the Driven Female Entrepreneur Facebook group. And if you've enjoyed the show, then be sure to leave a review and share this podcast with your network and business besties. It really means the world to me, and it helps more driven women to find and enjoy the show. There are a lot more tips and insights coming up for you in the next episode, so don't miss next week's podcast. Or better still, subscribe now so you never miss your weekly dose of inspiration. And remember, come and meet me and Fifi at the Quietly Influential Summit next week. It's an online event, so you can join us from wherever you are in the world. To claim your free ticket, visit melittacampbell.com/events. I've been Melitta Campbell, and I look forward to meeting you next week at the summit and in the next episode.